Hi gang, Wayne McPhail here to weigh in on the big nerd question. MacBook Air or iPad? The MacBook Air is the newest laptop from Apple. It's really thin, as you can see. It's running a 1.4 gigahertz processor, which is quite slow, but it also has an SSD drive, or a solid state drive. This one has 64 gig of memory. And that really compensates a lot for the slower processor. That's really sort of last year's processor, but it really feels like a snappy machine. You can fire up iCal or even GarageBand in 1 or 2 bounces off the dock. It's a really quick, responsive machine, even on closing down. So I've closed it down, I open it up, and it's back to work in just a few seconds. And that's true whether I do this 30 seconds later or 30 days later. It has a really good sleep time on the battery. Battery lasts in here about 5 hours. The 13-inch version lasts about 7 hours. This is the 11-inch version. You can see it's in a 16:9 format for good movie watching. This only has 2 gig of memory in addition to the 64 gig SSD drive and a slower processor. So you would think that it's not a high-end machine, and it's not. But this is the entry-level MacBook Air, and it does a lot of basic functions for a laptop really, really snappily and very, very easily. The nice thing about this is it's running the Mac OS, so all of your regular applications for your desktop or your MacBook Pro or whatever you're using as your home machine work on here just fine. Pages, numbers, Photoshop, whatever you want to do. Now, I wouldn't push this to the limit and put a big library of Aperture files in here, especially with 64 gig of memory, but it certainly is a very serviceable travel machine, and obviously super light, super thin, wonderfully flexible, and great for commuting and stuff. Now, we've got the iPad. The iPad also super thin, also SSD drive, so very easy to turn on, very easy to turn off and start up again, and you're ready to go. It also has the 64 gig of memory, as I said, and that is the same as the entry level of the MacBook Air. This is the high level of the iPad. This is the Wi-Fi version. So this runs the iOS, so you still have the ability to use things like Pages and Numbers, but they're not the full-blown versions that you would get on a MacBook Pro or a Mac desktop. This is a scaled down version, so you're trading off here. It has a virtual keyboard. You can also hook in a Bluetooth keyboard if you want to write and commute. In terms of price, they're kind of comparable. The high end of this and the low end of this are within a few $100s of each other. So if you had $1,000 to spend on one device, which one should you get? A lot of people are asking that question. Well, here's my take on it. If you're looking for a device that's a great sort of road warrior device that you want to be able to commute with or travel with or be in the field with, certainly I would look at the MacBook Air. As I said, it runs the standard iOS platform, and so all of the applications that you've come to expect from a MacBook are there for you. And very easy to get access to. You don't really have to worry too much about having compatibility with the files you've got. You can just take throw the files on here, get to work. So this is a great machine if you're used to using a laptop and you want to have a laptop in the field and you want to have all the conveniences of that. Now, that said, there's some disadvantages to this. There's no Firewire 400 or 800, so you're not going to be able to plug in a high-speed drive. You're not going to be able to do a lot of HD video editing because of the processor speed and also the lack of the throughput to a high-speed external hard drive. And there's no Ethernet port, so you have to connect via Wi-Fi, and there's not a whole bunch of USB ports on this as well. And of course, no DVD drive or CD drive in here. But a very serviceable commuting laptop. Now, if you're looking for a device to sit around the house with, to look at videos or browse the web or answer emails sitting on the couch or in the morning while you're waiting for tea to boil, or sitting in bed at night, you know, sort of browsing through Reddit or an RSS feed or whatever you want to do, Flipboard, this is a great device to use. The tactility of the multi-touch is great. The convenience of being able to carry around something that thin, turn it on and off really quickly and sit around with it wherever you are is a fantastic tool for sitting around the house. And I think a better experience than sitting around with a laptop on your lap. Now, what if you're in a situation where you want a device for both? You want something that's convenient and fun and, you know, comfortable around the house, but you're also looking for a device that can be sort of a road warrior device where you can do some writing, email, browsing the web, even looking at pictures, sorting pictures while you're traveling. Then I think the iPad shines, especially if you add an external Bluetooth keyboard to this. You can do a lot of writing with the virtual keyboard, but I find for longer stuff, having a Bluetooth keyboard is great. And I have a case that has a built-in Bluetooth keyboard, and I really like that. So final call for me would be, if you could only buy one device and you want it to just be around the house, the iPad; on the road, the MacBook Air. Something that can do both, I would choose the iPad. So I sort of tend towards the iPad as a one expenditure device would be this one. If you can afford both, great. And good for you, because they both serve very different purposes, and they're both terrific machines. I'm really, really impressed with the MacBook Air. I just think that the iPad has a little more, for me, a little more flexibility. At least that's my take on it. I'm Wayne McPhail. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.